Hey friends, if you've got 9 or 10-year-old daughters that are just devouring books, or they might if they have the right ones, then this list is for you. These are all stories that I've read out loud to my daughter, but that I would hand straight to her. They are age appropriate, they are fun, heartwarming, and strong female role models. Lots of adventure, friendships, difficult conversations, difficult experiences, but ultimately about strong girls. Some of them are a little bit more contemporary, a little bit more magical or whimsical, and some of them are more pioneer type stories where they're like a little old-fashioned, and they're just a very different feel between the two of them. Enough chit chat, let's get right into it. This is Dragon Slippers. It's about Creel, right here, who befriends a dragon. She is sacrificed to the dragon, I should say, at the very start of the book. She's sacrificed to the dragon, and then she befriends the dragon and finds a magical pair of slippers. From there, she becomes entangled in a conspiracy, as it were, a plot to overtake the kingdom. Then she's on a mission to, save the kingdom, save the dragons, protect the people, do all the things. But she is really a good character. I really like Creel, and she's really brave, and she does a lot of hard things. Tuesdays at the Castle is about Celie. She lives in a magic castle. Every Tuesday, the castle changes. It'll add a room. And so it's always shifting and moving as need be. The king and queen go missing, and some invaders are trying to take the country, take the castle, and Celie and her family are her siblings are trying to protect the castle from the invaders, and the castle's also kind of helping protect from invaders. It's a really fun story and lots of magic and a sweet sibling story. They all love each other and look out for each other, and I really appreciate that in a book. So that was another pro to Tuesdays at the Castle, also a series. The next book is Keeper of the Lost Cities, and this book is one of the most listened to books in my house. We have listened or read it so many times at this point. It is about Sophie Foster. She is just a normal girl living in the city with her mom, her dad, and her little sister. But turns out she's actually an elf. The elves find her and bring her back to their city and say, we were hiding you in, my mind is blanking what they call our world, but it's something else, the Forgotten Cities or something. Anyway, whatever the case. She's living in our world, and she gets taken to the elven world, and the rest of the series all takes place in the elven world. It only starts out in the human world. It's actually a very fun, very sweet, lots of friends, lots of missions together, good triumphing over evil. There's lots of magical creatures. It's just a fun story, and it is long and very epic, I would say. If you were to let your children read or listen, I will say in book 12, the most recent book that came out, which was Keith's side of the story, he's spending more time in the Forgotten Cities. And, they do some things differently in the Forgotten Cities. And as a conservative Christian mom, some of the things that they talked about while he was living in the human world were not things I would want my kids to be listening to. And so when that conversation happened, I was there because I was listening to this book with my kids, and I just turned down the volume. It is a bummer to me. It is quite disheartening to me when I listen to an entire series. We're talking hundreds of hours of listening to a book series just to get to way far down the line, and then all of a sudden have it be where they're bringing in topics. It's a little disheartening because then I don't want my kids to, be exposed to that. Anyway, as I previously stated, Keeper of the Lost Cities will be getting its own video because it deserves that. And boy, howdy, I did not put in that many hours of listening to not talk about it. So I have thoughts, I have words that need to be shared on that video. Pippi Longstocking. She's very unconventional. She is very funny. It's a tall tales type of story. So she's got superhuman strength, a suitcase full of gold. She lives without her parents, makes her own rules. It's very silly. But if you enjoy a silly type of story, or your daughter does, this book definitely did get a lot of laughs. The next is Hank the Cowdog. I'm just gonna put a picture on the screen because Hank the Cowdog, I mentioned in my video for boys, which if you didn't watch that, like go back and watch that because I felt like that was a lot of good books as well. That's the only book that's the same on my list of boys as for girls. But Hank the Cowdog, I had to list in my girls list too because my daughter loves Hank the Cowdog. She in fact went through, listened, wrote down all the songs that they sung. So highly recommend Hank the Cowdog for girls as well. It's just too funny not to recommend for both genders because I love Hank the Cowdog as well. This is Samantha Spinner. Her uncle goes missing. He leaves her sister like $2 billion and he leaves her an umbrella and I think a note that says rain is coming. And she is like, wait, what? She thought that he loved her too. He was her favorite uncle and she like adored him. And so now she is very confused. But she discovers that the umbrella obviously had special meaning and she gets to go on lots of adventures. There's like hidden transportation under the world, like under the city. So it goes like through the world, like through the Earth's core, I guess, secret tunnels from like in the US to Paris and all these fun things. It was a really fun adventurous story packed with lots of puzzles, humor, high stakes adventure, and just a really good mystery. Jinx was a good story as well. It came in the same book box as the Samantha Spinner. And to be honest, I didn't know how I felt about it in the beginning. I actually found it to be a very unique book. In the book, they have these like robotic animals, you see. This is a boar, a falcon, a cat, and they're like their pets, but they also, it's kind of like a school, there's a school situation where they're like fighting with their animals at the school. So Lucy, the main character, she wants to go to this prestigious school for inventors and coders because this is set in the future and is all about technology. She discovers Jinx and he is this like broken robotic pet and he's not like the other robotic animals. There's like some weird upgrades or just some weird things about him, right? But then she ends up, finding out like there's a conspiracy behind it. Obviously somebody had created him and I don't think they were supposed to. So it's just a really good, interesting, futuristic story that again, I found actually to be quite entertaining. My daughter loved it. And in fact, she got a cat and named it Jinx after the cat in this book. Okay, let's talk some classics. I was afraid to mention them because I was like, well, everybody's heard of these, but not everyone's heard of these and not everybody reads the classics anymore. So I'm just gonna bring it up anyway because that's me and I like reading old and new books. There's millions of books in the world, so let's have a variety. This is the Laura Ingalls Wilder series. This is a series I had when I was a child, literally the same series. I have kept it for about 30 years. I don't know that it needs much of an introduction, but Laura Ingalls Wilder, the first one is The Little House in the Big Woods. Laura and her family start in the big woods. It's just like a very beloved classic story. I mean, I think they're even doing another TV series about it right now. But the books themselves are so good, so wholesome, heartwarming, all the things you want in a good story. And so this book list wouldn't be complete without mentioning Little House in the Big Woods and the Laura Ingalls Wilder series as a whole. Spoiler, I am going to be doing more of these videos because turns out I love making videos about books for kids. And as I was making the last video I made for my boys about 4th grade readers for boys and then 4th grade readers for girls, I just realized there were so many books I wanted to share that especially hit at different ages and stages of life, whether that be grief or injuries or whatever it was. Okay, I just feel like books can fill a hole, a gap in us, and I'm going to be doing more of these because again, I couldn't fit all of the good books into 1, 2, or even 10 videos. There's just too many good books out there. The next one is called The Penderwicks. I just grabbed a pile of them. This is not all. I think there's 5 books in the series. So it's about 4 sisters who are super close. They go away on a summer vacation, at least book 1. I'll just talk about book 1. They go away for a summer vacation. And I like the Penderwicks because it's not just like adventures. There's a lot of personal growth. There's a lot of sibling growth and just discussion about that. And then actually it's kind of similar. I would say it's almost like Little Women, where there's 4 sisters and then they make a really good friend with a boy. His name is not Lori, something else, but they make friends with him, and then also they're living with their dad. Their dad is a widower. Their mom passed away when their littlest sister was a baby, and so there's also a lot of talk around that and just helping their dad and like watching him single parent, and all of that is just, as a mom, like so interesting and good. But the story itself is also just a really sweet, heartwarming story. I bought it for my kids, and then my nieces, who are a little bit younger, I got it for my niece for her 7th birthday, I think, and she absolutely loved book 1. So I know that this one is a hit, and the age range is wide, but 4th grade, yes, absolutely perfect. Even my boys love the story. They'll sit and listen to it in their bedroom, because we have it on audio as well. Okay, I know they're older. Again, these are books I had when I was a kid, but come on, the American Girl books, like they don't do you wrong. They don't. They hit every time. I still really enjoy these stories. I remember when I got a number of them. My mom bought me a couple different sets before we went on a road trip, and it was so funny because I am almost the youngest of 6. I have one younger sibling, but I remember my siblings that were like 7 to 10 years older than me reading the books too. And it ended up being that we were all passing them around, even though they were maybe like 20-ish years old, but it was like something to do in the car back then on a road trip, you know? But these books are so fun. All of them. I just grabbed one because we have a whole stack, but I didn't want to bring all of the books. Josefina was my very favorite, so that was, but I also still loved Felicity, Addie, really all of them, all of the stories. And I love that they are talking about a certain time in history. So if you don't know, the American Girls, each book story focuses on a girl in a different time in history, and like from a different period of history, highlighting a specific time or event. So they have the same format, but they're all different. And I do think, especially if you're doing history and you're building it with living book, gold. I know because we did that when my daughter did Core D. We read Felicity, and I got her like tea stuff that matched, because we were talking about the tea party, because Felicity is the Revolution time period. Another classic series is the Nancy Drew books, and I'm only mentioning them again because this video wouldn't be complete without me mentioning them. But Nancy Drew is like Hardy Boys for boys, Nancy Drew is for girls. The Nancy Drew books are about a teen sleuth, a teen detective named Nancy Drew, who is really smart, really courageous, and always out to solve a good mystery. So in every single case, she is solving the mystery, probably getting into trouble, like getting into danger, getting out of danger. She has like a couple of really close friends, and you know, there's always these different elements pulled in, but you get to watch them grow too. And that's the other thing I like about Nancy Drew, is like you get to watch like her change as she matures and grows up. And so in that way, I do think it's like really good for girls, because the focus isn't on superficial things, it's on like quality things. And so I enjoyed that about the Nancy Drew books, and my daughter still reads them quite a bit. She has a large library at this point, so she's not like always reading the Nancy Drew, because she's always reading something. But the Nancy Drew books are wonderful if you want to just like hand your daughter something and know it's going to be quality. I think the first one was written in 1930, so these books are, I shouldn't say the first one, I think they were being written in the 1930s, so the first one might have been earlier than that, I don't know. But we're talking like 100 years old, so the language is a little different. I think that it's better quality writing. I love when there's a broad vocabulary in books, because I don't teach my kids vocabulary from like a vocabulary study guide or a textbook. They learn vocabulary through reading, and that's all they need. It's like their vocabulary is broad because we read a lot of books, and we read books that are old and new. And that's one of the reasons why it's just part of how we learn, right? It's through living books. If you like this book list and it's helpful for you, be sure to subscribe and click the notification bell so you can get notified every time I make a video. I make videos every single week about homeschooling and books, kids books specifically, because we read a lot of kids books for school. If you don't know, I use Sunlight, and we homeschool. We have for 10 years now using the Sunlight curriculum. So we read a lot of books throughout the school year. We also read books during the summer just for fun. I wish we had time to read books just for fun during the school year, but let's be honest, not so much. Mostly during the school year, we're reading living books from the school curriculum. And they're often favorites. Like they're amazing books and we have a great time with them, but yeah, you get what I'm saying. You get what I'm saying. Last but not least is the Emily Winstep series, which is about mermaids. The main character, Emily, goes to a beach house, and whilst there, she discovers she is a mermaid, and then she gets to have a lot of undersea adventures. My daughter is rereading book 1 right now, so I'm showing you book 2 because she was like, it's just been a long time, I think I'm gonna reread that. So that's where book 1 is. That was also a fun series. We read it, I believe, when we were still living in Hawaii, and so everything that was under the sea and, you know, shells and all the things are still pretty sentimental to us, and they were especially at the time because we love living on an island. So I hope this is helpful for you. I hope to see you again really soon, and I hope you have an awesome rest of your day.